bald head. What is happening, everybody? Hope everybody's having a fantastic start to their week. Fantastic start to your week with next week ending March. That'll end Q1 of 2021. And why is that important? Well, first of all, I need to get my rig set up here. So before I start getting too heady with this, let me flip this around. There we go. Yeah, it's way better. Yeah, I know. Feed me. This thing is always running out of the juice. That's part of going live. It's not always as set up as you would like. So, getting back to it. So, we're coming into the last full week of March, and this is kind of a pivotal thing. So, just kind of walk with me on this. Next week, basically a short week, that's going to end Q1 of 2021. And the reason why that's, somewhat important is because we've been basically told in one way, shape, or form that the LX platform, the platform that we have all grown to absolutely adore, it's supposed to go away after the model year 2023. Problem is, we only have 3 more months basically left in the 2021 model year. See, typically, vehicles built after or in July will usually fall into the next model year. So basically, if you've got a car built in July of 2021, chances are it's a 2022. And you can kind of see where I'm going with it. Hey, wow, that was pretty cool. Anyway, you kind of see where I'm going with this. We're not hearing any rumors from Dodge. We're not hearing any get ready for a big update. We're not getting anything. Now you might think, it's a little bit too early. Well, sort of. See, the thing is that by this time, all of the rumor mills and know-it-alls and inside people will have already spilled the beans, and there would be some level of discussion floating around out there that we would have this revised LX platform, or it's going to be a whole new platform. Get ready, because here comes the CUDA. That's the kind of stuff you would be waiting on, especially about this time of year. I mean, keep in mind, look how many months Dodge drug out the Demon release. And that was a car that was, basically just another trim level of a Hellcat if you want to get real technical. This is a much bigger deal. This is a, at least rumored, complete and total platform revival. So I guess what I can tell you is I'm a little bit concerned. Does this mean that 2023 will truly be the last year? Are we honestly looking at the swan song of the LX platform? I don't know. But typically, like I was saying earlier, if you haven't heard anything by this point in time, you start to wonder a little bit. And again, it's not like this is, all dark clouds and everything. But when you consider the fact that we are basically 3 to 4 months away from the 2022 model year, which will in fact ring in basically the last year of the full run of production on an LX platform, unless you're going to count 2023 as well. Does that switch get made in 2023? I don't know. So I guess what I wanted to hear from you guys is, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, we've been talking about a new platform for the Charger and the Challenger forever, like totally forever. And the issue is, how do they go about doing this? It was originally slated for, at least we are hearing about this Ghibli platform. The Giulia platform. Giulia platform, probably wasn't going to work because it couldn't fit a V8. Then comes the Ghibli platform. The Ghibli platform, they could have made the Hemis work, but again, nothing. And because of nothing, it's kind of hard to get excited about what might be for Dodge. There for a while, a lot of hype and a lot of speculation was going into what will be next. Well, the problem is that nobody's getting excited. No insiders are talking. And with their latest acquisition by Stellantis, it kind of makes you wonder if this whole muscle car thing is going to go by the wayside, at least temporarily, a la the Viper or Camaro. Not necessarily a bad thing, but given the market position of the Challenger and the fact that the Charger is the only real hot rod, American four-door hot rod anyway, in terms of sedans that's left, yeah, that would be a pretty big bummer. So does that mean that the value of my car goes up? I don't know. It depends on what side of the aisle you're on this deal. Some say it's just the end of the genetic line of the car. Others will say it's the end of an era. Kind of like, when muscle car, the whole real muscle car era ended. Those cars weren't necessarily beloved overnight, but then again, gas crisis being all that it was and everything, they were just toys that got horrible fuel economy and weren't all that reliable to begin with. So a little reason why they were a little bit maligned, especially by some of the people that had owned them. But now is a little bit different, and the newer cars are so much more, well, to say they're more reliable is an understatement. So I guess for me, I'm left wondering, what should I start getting excited about? I mean, should I just go ahead and forego any idea of what Dodge may do? And again, with no clear vision in sight, it makes having the conversation about what's your next Dodge seem like a distant speculation rather than an actual plan of attack. Let me explain to you what I mean by that. So typically, well, let me rephrase this. The only way manufacturers make money is by repeat sales. I mean, if you buy a car and you keep it for the rest of your life, that's great, but they're not going to sell a whole bunch of cars. So the manufacturers are incentivized to keep making new, making better, etc., regardless of what that new and better actually consists of. Faster, better fuel economy, more trinkets, more luxurious. You get the idea. Better evolves. What is considered to be better changes over time. So in this case, what will be the next better Hellcat? What will be the next better RT? We're only left to speculate. But again, I have to bring up the topic of we have nothing to base any speculation off of. And again, without the rumor mill churning, makes the conversation grow a little bit numb. You stop thinking about Mopar because Mopar is not thinking about you. And next thing you know, you've slid into a Ford dealership or a Chevy dealership or something along those lines. So anyway, let me check in with you guys real quick. Don't forget to hit that like button and ring that bell. MotoX checking in saying, hey, Brian. Let's see, 86 saying, what up from Dallas? Nice. I like it. Boost saying, hey, B Mason got the arm flex. I like it. Slick through 19 saying, sub B. Bruce saying, what's up from Fort Worth? Home of one of my favorite bands ever. Quaker City Nighthawks. What up, B? What up, Alberto? Boost anyway saying, hi, 86 likes your Texas 2K Texas 2K video. Very nice. I appreciate that. 86 says, I appreciate that. Alex is saying, Professor B finally took my car out to the local 8th mile this Saturday after 1.5 years of ownership, but my Nitto 420s only let me do an 8.3 at my best. Well, I can understand that. Eric saying, good evening, Professor B. Got the flexes. I like those. Chris saying, yeah, platform revival into getting rid of the V8. It's very possible. It's very possible, but you know what's funny? I'm not necessarily a fate worse than death. So what has happened before, you've got to go back to 1983, 1982, right around in that area, where you had the Omni GLH, you had the Daytona, you had some other cars from Dodge that bucked the trend of V8 and had pretty decent success with them. Good little front-wheel drive hot rods that were out running around. Although cars like the Conquest, which if you'd have no idea what a Conquest is, it's a kind of a gray import, Mitsubishi Conquest and Dodge Talon, or I forget how the names get. It's been 100 years ago, man. Anyway, lots of really neat cars kind of started popping up. And this is back during the era that, everybody thought that the V8 was dead. And in some manufacturers' eyes, it really was. So there's that. But, it's interesting. I would be all right with something that was V6 twin turbo, something just absolutely nutty and completely different from Mustang or Camaro. The problem is that I don't think the market's going to actually allow for it. The Challenger and the Charger keep selling. I mean, they're practically selling every one that they make. It fits a fantastic narrative of being a big car, good, powerful, torquey engines that make a great sound. And in their own environment, you know, in their own backyard, they are absolutely awesome. But in other areas, they're not. And that's where they're much maligned, you know, roll racing and things like that, which just are never going to be that type of a car's wheelhouse. So, but we'll have to see. Starian, that's what it is. Thanks, Sean. I appreciate it. Let's see. Hit this thing and it blasted right past everybody. Let's see here. CFL's got the thumbs up, the flexes. I like it. Smoking saying, howdy B, hope all is well. Hope all is well with you too. I'll be racing my 392 this weekend. Track opener. Very nice. Shawnee's checking in saying, good evening. Howdy. Anthony's saying, evening B. What's up, Anthony? Cinnamon 08 saying, how's it going? It's going well, man. Derek's asking, do you think the RPM Act will pass? Well, the RPM Act, I mean, it's the RPM Act is the actual petition, if you will, to keep the EPA from reimagining their stance. You can't really reimagine that stance. Will it pass? Guys, I'm not sure that I understand all that there is to know about this EPA re-envisioning what all that they're doing. You know, folks that I've talked to, folks that are smarter than me, seem to have a better idea of this. In that, is it going to pass? It's going to be tough to get that to pass, honestly. That notion, that motion, the EPA, I don't know. I don't know what or who they're specifically targeting with this. Again, they're not targeting the end user. They're targeting the folks that make the means to tune, and therefore also the tuners as well. You know, I don't know, but here's the funny thing. There are a lot of emissions legal things that you can do. You know, superchargers. I mean, selling a whole lot of superchargers soon, but I don't know, man. It's tough. You need to get on that petition. Make sure that your state representatives and your elected officials are aware that this is something that you do not agree with this EPA. And the thing is, look, I'm all for clean air. I'm all for responsible modifications to these vehicles, especially when they're driven on the street. What I'm not a big fan of is the seemingly out of the clear blue sky reimagining what the wording means of something that's been in place for years and years and years. That's something that is absolutely not fair to anybody. I don't know who it benefits, but whomever that is are the ones that need to be voted out or sent packing, whatever the case may be. Catalyst99, thank you very much, asking, what is a realistic price to pay for a full set of headers, mid-pipes, and catbacks? Headers for a set of Cooks are going to run you somewhere around $1,200. I would recommend Cooks primarily because they fit amazing and they're just very high quality. When it comes to exhaust stuff, especially when they're extremely hard to install, you want to go with the best. I mean, I get it. Sometimes, like even with Sierra, I bought headers specifically for test fitting exhausts and seeing what clearance was going to look like and things like that. Making sure if I did have to clearance anything, I wasn't destroying an expensive set of headers. But that being said, Cook's headers about $1,200. Now, let's see, mid pipes. The headers with the mid pipes, I believe, might be a couple of $100 more for the metal substrate catalytic converters. Catback, Man, don't get me to lying on the catback pricing. I know that it's typically around anywhere from 700 to 1,000 to 1,200 bucks. It ranges all over the place. It can go even as high as $2,300, $2,400. I would say that's completely unnecessary. The honest to goodness, good sounding catbacks that you'll find out there, like Magnaflow or Corsa, you know, those are the ones that you're going to really want to look at, and those are going to be the ones that, you know, aren't going to break the bank. Now, you may have to get butterfly simulators for your car if it has the butterflies in the exhaust, but you know, or if your ECU is unlocked, you can just kill those things in the tune. So, or kill the code in the tune, I should say. Let's see. But thank you very much, man. I appreciate that. Let's see. Oh, Shawnee's saying rumors of S650 already hitting. Next Charlie rumors, way too quiet. Yeah, see, that's kind of the way that I'm seeing it. And I don't know. I need something to get excited about. Slick392 saying they're going to milk this platform while the new regime takes over. Too many vehicles in the lineup. The funny thing about that is, yeah, I mean, I'm sure that they will, but the problem is that they have been milking the platform now for forever. And you got to remember, the weird thing is that car, let me think about this, that platform rolled along from 2008 to 2014, aside from the engine change of 6.1 to 6.4, pretty well unchanged. And, you know, now we're 15 to 21. I mean, we're basically getting to the point now where it's, I mean, even even by being generous, I mean, all right, I mean, it's about time we get a new platform. So, or at least a revision of the LX platform, if nothing else. Sean is saying Starion. Yep, that's one. Cal is saying, hello, B, hello. Boo saying, I had 4 Conquest. Dude, I love those cars, man. I don't know what it was about those things, but it was kick-ass. And the thing is I never could understand why the Conquest never took off. I always thought that the Starion, Conquest, what have you, always thought that was awesome. 4-cylinder turbo, rear-wheel drive. What's not to love? You know, I wanted one of those desperately. I drove 3 or 4 of them. Absolutely love those cars. And you know, shit, if I could find a clean one, I'd be all over it. I still think they're awesome. Ashton's asking, am I going to Cletus in cars? We'll be there with the twins. It was running good last weekend. Man, no, probably not, but I will be there, weather permitting, Friday night. So we'll see about that. You know, weather out here has been nuts. We had, you know, gorgeous weather, and then yesterday it rained, and so we'll just see what ends up happening with all this. But hopefully we get some good weather, but it'll be cool to see it. And I want to see that new combination. I know that thing's running strong. Sovereign saying, evening B Mason. What's up, Sovereign? CFL saying, if you had to make a color choice on a new Hellcat you were ordering, what would yours be? Interior as well? Man, that's tough to say. Let me think about this for a minute. The reason why I have to think about this is I love the color Frostbite. I am just absolutely enamored with that color. So it would be a toss-up between Frostbite with the suede interior like I have now, or if I could get blue stitching. I don't know if you can get blue stitching, but man, I tell you what, it would be hard for me not to go with something like, I don't know, I might have to get another white one, just because white one, same interior I have now, or a base interior with red seat belts. That would be another one that I would probably take a strong look at. Sean's saying, I'm just going to go with the high flow cats with my long tube headers and keep it legal as possible. I originally was going to go off-road. Yeah, I mean, there's no reason not to run cats anymore. The metal substrate catalytic converters have absolutely no detriment to power whatsoever. It keeps it legal. And it's just one more thing you don't have to worry about. So Yeah, I mean, like I say, as long as it's the metal substrate catalytic converters, I would absolutely be on board with that. Alex is saying the EPA can F right off. People who mod their cars, and most of those mods meet emission standards, make up such a small segment of the population that the reduction in any CO2 is basically nil. Actually, funny you should mention that. Most of the guys that mod their cars take such better care of their cars that they're probably more like new for much, much longer. So, yeah, and it's funny. So here's the argument that I have, and this is something that's come up a lot. You've over the years heard a lot of different folks talking about this. Small engines with a turbocharger or forced induction or what have you are not more fuel efficient than their naturally aspirated larger engine cousins. A lot of that has to do with the fact that when you tip into, like at steady state cruise, maybe they have an advantage in fuel economy, but I've never seen it to be all that great. Look at the V6 versus the Hemi. The company that I work for, all we have are Hemi trucks because there's absolutely no difference in fuel economy between the V8 trucks and the V6. In fact, some will argue that the V6 gets worse fuel economy because to get the thing to move anywhere, you got to break your foot off in it. The same applies for a small engine with a turbocharger, for example. To get the same level of acceleration or to get the same level of just power in general under partial throttle, you have to dip into boost. And when you dip into boost, what happens? Well, you go into power enrichment mode. It goes rich on the fuel, on the air fuel ratio. You're burning more fuel. It's no secret that it takes X amount of fuel at X amount of cubic inches to make a certain amount of power. Less cubic inches means you need to be able to burn more fuel to make the same amount of power. And that's where the problems come in. It's a richer mixture. It's actually worse than having a larger engine that you're just barely tipping into the throttle. Now, wide open throttle, they're both making the same amount of power. Usually the boosted engine is going to be richer at that point too. So you've got two portions of the usage cycle of an engine that are already using more fuel than the naturally aspirated engine. It's not to say the naturally aspirated engine is worse or better or anything like that. It's just the nature of the engines. But it seems from those that are in the know, those that are looking at this going, well, yeah, I guess it's got catalytic converters, but you're burning through more fuel to make the same power at that type of a load. You know, there's ways that you're going to think about it that start to, well, you'll start to question where the logic is really coming from. But yeah, it is funny though. People that mod their cars are typically the same ones that take incredibly good care of them. So usually, you know, a true enthusiast. Hey, wait a minute. Hang on a second. Slick, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Super chat saying, what car would be more fun with an E4 Stage 1, a 5.7 or a 6.4 Street Fun? A 5.7, and the reason why the 5.7 would be more fun is that you would get, in essence, the same horsepower out of that Stage 1 E-Force as the naturally aspirated 6.4 with no real concerns about transmission durability and longevity. See, the problem with the E-Force kit, it's not a problem. I mean, it's a good thing. It uses the 2650 Maggie compressor. It's a very good kit in general. The other cool thing about it, by the way, 50 state legal, and you can get it with a warranty when you use their tune. So there's that, right? But the deal with the 6.4, well, here's the problem. They advertise like 560, 570 horsepower to the rear wheels, which is about 100 horsepower over what a well-tuned 392 will put down on a dyno jet, which is what I'm assuming that they're talking about. By the way, that 5.7 Stage 1 kit is like right around 430, 440, something like that, right at what a clean running 392 will make. But yeah, it would be better in a 5.7. For me, it would be better in a 5.7 because, well, there's like a peace of mind factor at play there. So take that for what it's worth. I think that the supercharged stuff, when we're talking about a 5.7, is always going to be a little bit easier, not only on the transmission, but for folks that are concerned about 392s and glass pistons and things like that, you can boost a 392. You just have to boost it based on the limitations, really, of the fuel quality that you're dealing with. And in this case, I wouldn't even call that a problem. I would say that you would probably be hitting the limits of that transmission, especially with a well-sorted tune, before you would be running into any problems with that engine itself. The only other thing that strikes me about the 392 with that supercharger, there's a couple of things. One is the cost. I mean, you are legit looking at $8,000 for a tuned kit, not a tuner kit. Tuner kit's going to be about $1,500 less. You can always upgrade with a warranty, and you can have 50-state compatibility with that thing. The downside, though, is, let's say after it's all said and done, you're looking at $12,000, 13, 14, whatever it is, grand, including install and everything else. You've got to really want a supercharged 6.4 liter, because you are so deep into Hellcat money at that point that, I mean, it doesn't even make sense. Plus, with the Hellcat being significantly more robust, less sensitive to fuel quality issues, because you have to remember that 392 is sitting basically right at 11-to-1 compression. That's going to be the thing that's going to start causing the issues. Now, put the thing on race gas, do an HP90 conversion, spend even more money on top of more money with a side of more money. Can I get a second helping of more money to spend on this thing? I think you can see where I'm going with this. But the 5.7, there's really not a penalty to pay. Sure, you could have spent more and got a 392 and arguably less on getting a 392, but it still wouldn't be a blown Hemi, right? If you got a 392. And the fact of the matter is that a supercharged 5.7 will make a little bit more power than a good running 392 will make. It'll have tip-in torque for days, the whole bit, right? But it'll be more powerful and arguably more reliable, at least from a, how hard it would hit that transmission. Now, it's still going to hit the transmission pretty hard, that HP70, but the HP70 is fairly robust and it can take a pretty good beating. But it'll be on the limits. Whereas the 392 with that supercharger is still not as fast as a Hellcat, and that's something that means something. In other words, if you take a 5.7 E4 supercharger, line them up, 5.7 will about 9.5 times out of 10 beat the 392. You take 392 with that supercharger, line it up next to a stock Hellcat, and that stock Hellcat will show its ass to whatever it is that's racing with that supercharger. That's the difference. So that's kind of how that all breaks down. Both of them would be a lot of fun to drive. I've driven quite a few E-Force 5.7s. I absolutely love that combination. And Edelbrock ain't paying me. I can just tell you that it's my own personal experience that is a clean ass combination. It's good on durability. And in that 5.7 adds that theater, adds that whine, and just makes it a neat car to drive around. Let's see. Bear with me here. Bruce is saying, my friend claims my old 06 RT died because of back pressure muffler delete, although I keep telling him it threw a rod. How do I tell him he's wrong without sounding like an ass? Well, Bruce, sounding like an ass is a subjective situation. If you are speaking the truth, it's only the reception of the person that is receiving your truth that can determine whether or not you're an ass. You're not trying to be an ass, you're just trying to explain something. If they take that as you being an ass, then so be it. Don't worry about what you sound like. If you're speaking the truth, it's the truth. Jimmy's saying, I'll listen to my Scat Pack having an effect to the air quality after they do something about every coal roller in my neighborhood. True that. You don't need black smoke to make ridiculous power. The world record truck, by the way, makes no smoke. In fact, just barely on tip in on fuel enrichment, which is what you have to do. But yeah, it doesn't smoke. I mean, none of the Audi SCCA prototype cars smoked. You know, and so there's that. So yeah, I 100% agree with you there. Some are saying, no idea if my URL post is getting blocked. I have no idea, bud. CFL saying rower, not roller, when referring to brodozers. So yeah, if y'all know my little rant on that. So I don't know why it's rolling coal, ROLLING. It makes absolutely no sense. It is supposed to be or should be rowing, ROWING, coal. It's a railroad term. It comes from when trains ran on coal in their fireboxes to boil the water in the boiler to make the steam to make them go. And the idea is that they would open up the doors to the firebox, and those guys in the tinder box would literally have their shovels rowing the coal. It's like they were rowing a boat, rowing coal into that firebox to get it as hot as possible. That's the term. It's a railroad term. And I don't know where rolling came from, but I don't know if y'all were on the last rant, you know we're about to go with that. So anyway, absolutely. Good call, CFL. Sean saying, I thought you had a Hellcat. Oh, Catalyst saying at Sean. Yep. Been a little change, a little disturbance in the force. Smoking 05 saying, in my 392 in negative DA, I've hit 96 injector duty cycle with 12.3 AFR on 92 octane. I only have a ported intake, 84 millimeter throttle body in tune. Is it common to run out of injector on a basically stock 392? Yeah, it is. I mean, you're not really running out of injector at that point. 92% is still okay. You've got a little bit of overhead, but not by a lot. You can the fuel pump will actually ramp up in fuel pressure, and you can actually exceed that number by a significant percentage amount. But you never want to see more than 100%. And I don't really like seeing that at all. I'll give you an idea. I almost said Roxanne. Revlon, Roxanne is Robert Eden's car because he always red lights. Revlon, if you saw my video on the no filter versus filter data log session, the injector duty cycle, now keep in mind, it was cold. It was 34 degrees outside, and we were trying to get every ability to tax that filter as much as possible. By the way, if you haven't seen it, the stock filter did do better than no filter at all, which still kind of blows my mind at that power level. Lost my train of thought here. Injector duty cycle. So mine hit 97%. And so I completely understand where you're coming from. But yeah, 12.3 AFR, you're correct there for your fuel air. And yeah, I've seen them get pretty high. So, but keep an eye on it. Make sure everything's good. Oh, one other thing. Check to make sure that you are not losing fuel pressure at any point. You need to, when you're data logging it, just make sure you're not losing fuel pressure. I think Shalandra would typically be somewhere in the mid 80s. So again, just make sure you're not losing fuel pressure at some point during that pass. Alex is asking, anyone driven both the Atturo AZ850s and the Firehawk Indy500s thinking about new tires soon? I've only driven the Atturo AZ850s. I've got them on the front on my street setup for the Hellcat. I absolutely love them and don't have any problems with Atturo whatsoever. I've buzzed them up to 150 miles an hour on several occasions. Very stable, no weird anything out of them. Just a good tire. So they're cheap, but they're really good tires. Derek saying, I'm more concerned with the EPA this time around doing our current governor situation. We'll see. Oh, Ship's asking, what do you think about the mod X 3-inch exhaust for the 392? I think Mrs. X Challenger has it. I can tell you, hey, what's up, Racer X? Everybody say what's up to Racer X. I can tell you that it sounds really good. It's a modular system, so you can tune it, cater it to whichever sound you like, and it's designed to be modular in that respect. So I like that kind of stuff. It is pricey, but quality, sometimes you get what you pay for. Let's see. Oh, Jimmy's saying that Conquest was awesome. Dude, I love the Conquest. That was one of the, got the thumbs up. What's up, Racer? It's one of my favorite cars. These Sovereigns checking in with Racer X. Shiny saying, oh, talking about Catalyst 99. I maxed out my Hellcat, and now I'm working on a Coyote 10-speed GT for sure. Riff's checking in. What's up, man? Yep, confirming that Mrs. X car does in fact run the Mod X. Oh, Ashley's saying she's going to be at the track this Friday. Very cool. Yeah, I want to check that out. I've been following the build. I can't wait to see how that bad boy runs down the track. And I'll be loading what will probably end up being the last tune on my car. I did a couple of tune revisions. In fact, I need to load them. Or I need to load that tune whenever I get back to the house tonight. Nothing major, just kind of cleaning up a couple of things in the tune. Mainly cleaning up areas that would only be seen, if I'm being honest, in really low DAs. More or less for you guys that are into tuning or anything like that, it's just more or less interpolating the timing values up a little bit, just kind of cleaning it up, making it make a little bit more sense. Not really adding or taking away any timing per se. There's a couple of cells that are going to get some timing, a couple of cells are going to lose some timing, but it's not really going to make a difference with how the car runs. And we were talking like half a degree here, plus a degree there, something like that. So actually, no, not even that. It'd be half a degree in some areas and no change in others. So, but that'll be good. Fueling will stay the same. Knock sensor sensitivity. I'm taking a little bit more sensitivity out of it just to be on the safe side. The data would suggest that I'm allowed that latitude. So just to make sure, I always keep an eye on knock sensor voltage anyway. But again, no big changes to that tune. Just enough to wake it up just a little bit, that last little bit, and then she gonna be done. And I'm looking forward to that. She's already done everything. That car has done everything that I could have never imagined it to do. I mean, it goes out, runs a 10-12, a string of 10 teens at the last track rental. And in 0 DA is running 1020s like it's just like on rinse and repeat mode at that point. So definitely stoked about that. And again, not any major changes, but I will need to, get a couple of passes in to get predictive algorithms sorted out. In fact, what I might do if we have some good weather is just load the tune, make a few street hits with it, run down to Velocito and just kind of, have a little bit of fun with her, and then get her ready for the track. Hopefully, if it's nice, we'll be able to get some passes out of it. Sam saying he had to fight tooth and nail with a transmission builder to honor their warranty. I'm not surprised about that. Jimmy's saying, talk about the SVT Contour. Yeah, I just saw Conquest. I love that old car. If I've got a weird soft spot in my heart for a lot of the more obscure cars that were out there, like the Conquest, Starion type cars, the ES body style, the Dodge 600 Turbo, which was actually my first car. And I wish I appreciated it more at the time. That car was actually pretty good, pretty quick for its day. So, the Dodge 600, kind of a cool car there, turbo, 4-cylinder. Just a bunch of the Daytonas, just some goofy cars that I always liked. Variety is the spice of life. I always enjoyed those things. Riff saying, just got through banging on my Hellcat with a sledgehammer to get some 315 5017s to fit. Yeah, so that's one of the reasons why I never went with the 315 50s. Those things are a nightmare to get in there to fix. And yeah, you do have to beat the snot out of the inner fender wells. And the trick is you take the actual liner out, and there's these little bumps that you've got to beat the hell out of those. And anyway, to give you guys an idea, I just hope, hey, make sure when you do that though, after you beat the hell out of it, get some sandpaper, rough it up, and hit that whole back side of that thing with flat black. Let it dry. Use your heat gun if you need to. Get it to flash up. Let it dry. Hit it with a second coat. That way you don't get rusting issues on those inner fenders. I just got through redoing the one on the passenger side on Revlon. Mainly, heat gun kind of reform the inner fender well a little bit, and then put a different position for a new Christmas tree push pin. And it was already pretty good, but what's funny is that now I have more clearance on my passenger side than I do on my driver's side. If you guys are familiar with the Challengers, it's usually the other way around, and but now it's actually gone the other way, and it's plenty of clearance. In fact, I can rub my hand all around the tire and not really hit anything unless I really try to go deep on the deep wrapping around with my hand. So Racer X is saying, what's going on, guys? Show me Mason some love. Yeah, show me some love, y'all. I love love. Love's a good thing, man. Big fan of love. Hang on just a second. What happened here? Jimmy, thank you very much. Jammin' Jimmy Olsen. Man, that was a DJ down here in Houston. Saying there is an unmolested SVO Mustang for sale locally. He knows what he has, and the price shows it too. Gorgeous car. You know what's funny about SVOs is that car at one time was kind of slated to be the V8's supersede the V8. It was going to be the next power plant. It was at least rumored to be, here goes, the V8s are gone. Here come these turbo 4-cylinders. And between that and the Super Coupe and the Turbo Coupe for the Thunderbirds, I always really liked those cars a lot. Anyway, where I'm going with this is that Turbo 2.3 liter, it wasn't uncommon for guys to take those cars, trick them out like crazy, and build 11-second street cars out of those things. So I remember a video from forever ago. I mean, forever ago. And basically it was one of these guys, like a beige Mustang turbo 4-cylinder, pulling the front tires off the ground and all that. Anyway, that was some pretty cool stuff from back in the day, man. No doubt about it. But yeah, I can see where the guy's wanting to get a pretty penny for it. Let's see. Bear with me here. Oh, Callus is hanging out with Sean. Sovereign saying, asking if Rift can post the RPM Act petition. Yeah, if y'all want to sign up on it, either you can have it posted here or just Google RPM Act petition, and I think that'll take you to the site. So, either way, that I know that'll get you where you need to be. Bruce saying, hey, since I know you're going to try to make it to We Are Mopar this year, I'm going to bring all my friends, including my friend with his 650 wheel horse Evo. I bet he'd give you a ride since I know you love Evos. Yeah, Evos are cool. We'll see about We Are Mopar. I don't know. It depends on if I can actually get any time off this year. Slick saying, what car? Oh, Slick's checking in. Thanks again. I appreciate that. What car would be more fun? My vote was for the 5.7. Sam said, I'm trying to find a 93 Cobra. They're getting hard to find. If you have any interest, I have a lead on a D300 Dodge. Actually, I need to get Sierra back before I do anything else. We've got a little bit too many projects around here, looking to thin the herd a little bit. So, gonna get some work done on the Camaro, get some work done on the Mustang once Sierra comes back. So not gonna be messing with anything carbureted again anytime real soon. I'll put it to you that way. Having some issues right now, but it is what it is, man. It's just just an old truck giving us all kinds of new problems. Riff's going to try to post that up. Jimmy's saying mile per gallon EcoBoost versus 5 liter and F-150 argument destroyed for better mile per gallon. Man, I don't know of anybody that is getting stellar fuel economy out of an EcoBoost. And again, a lot of it has to do with the fact that you've got to be in that thing. You've got to be in that throttle to get it to move anywhere. So, you know, it is what it is. And again, you know, when you're looking at the tunes and you've got, what is this thing on my screen, man? It looks like I've got a, oh, I just blew through everything. You know, you got all kinds of weird issues with the EcoBoost back in the day too. So there's a lot of folks that were a little bit disenfranchised, disenchanted by that engine in that truck. Suffered saying no replacement for displacement for sure. Brandon's watching us with an enhanced state of consciousness. Very nice. Oh, Rip just posted up the voter voice link. Someone's saying, Brandon, oh boy, I see it. There's the petition. Very nice. I don't think Brandon's getting behind the wheel of anything. Let's see. Oh, Sam saying I called this EPA crackdown after the VW's Dieselgate. So the thing, there was a lot. It wasn't just the VW Dieselgate, but that's one of the things that got, you know, it's just, it only takes one bad apple to ruin the bushel. So definitely no fun. Ruben's saying, oh yeah, got the arm flex and ball guy with the shades. Yeah, Brandon, you might want you might want to mix in a little bit of a. We need to get a intervention here from Brandon. Sean saying, Sam, I used to have the teal 93 the Cobra that Sean E had. Yeah, a buddy of mine's got one of those. Man, they're awesome cars. I love them. They're a throwback, fast for their day, but by today's standards, nowhere even close to anything that you would consider fast. Although I will say this, torquey and fun and fast and all of that, it's all subjective, man. It really is. You know, it's interesting because, you know, like I always go back to Exhibit A, which is the turning into the thing that I just call the Camaro out there. You know, interestingly enough, I drove it. And my wife drove it. My wife took it out and played around with it a couple of days ago, so a Sunday, I guess. Anyway, it's just so torquey, tip and throttle response, like, you know, it's like immediate. So she went out and was doing burnouts with it at some point yesterday. Always fun to turn her loose with it. You know, it's fun. It does a lot of cool things. It makes all the right sounds, makes tire smoke, but it's not fast enough to really get you into trouble. And that makes it kind of nice in a lot of ways. Dr. Div saying, enjoy the show for a bit, getting out for the night. Glad I caught the show. Y'all have a good evening. Talk to you tomorrow sometime. Cool. Give us a holla, brother. Let's see. Bear with me. Oh, hang on. Summer Night saying, hey man, heavy. Sam said, well, the price of gas going up, I now think it's the perfect time to build a car. Summer saying that 6.4 though, oh so good. And that's the thing, the 6.4, just from a driving standpoint, is incredibly difficult to argue against. You know, when you think about it, the 6.4 does something that's actually kind of special. You know, the 6.4 in 2015 was basically the first car. Let me think about this. It would have been considered to be there was a couple of firsts in 2015 that a lot of folks didn't really pick up on. Starting with let's start from the top and move down. Hellcat, first mass-produced 10-second car ever. I mean, you put that thing on a drag radial, on a drag strip, it goes 10s in decent air. It doesn't even have to be perfect air, just halfway decent air. But more to the point of that, the Scat Pack core on the same tire, on the same track, had a pretty good chance in really clean air of running 11s. And to say that you have an 11-second capable car in those conditions was never anything that you could say in the muscle car era. It just wasn't. I mean, the only couple of cars that you might be able to say that about would have been, well, an L88 Corvette, or I don't know. I mean, we're talking 11s, not 12s, a true 11-second car. Maybe a stripped down Hemi Roadrunner. Hemi Challenger, Hemi Cuda would probably get there too, with a good tune and on a tire, but even that would be asking a lot. There just weren't any cars from the golden era of muscle cars that would actually do that. But with the Scat Pack, you got a little bit something different too. You had an iconic displacement. Yeah, it's an 8-speed automatic that will shift in all different modes. They're comfortable. They've got doodads and great reliability, the whole bit. But again, it was 11-second capable car, certainly low 12s. And unfortunately, that was overshadowed by the Hellcat. And it's a shame too, because that, to a lot of automotive enthusiasts, represented a little bit different shade of a high watermark. Mainly because it's a naturally aspirated Hemi, the way that the Hemi was delivered back in the day. And you can have your arguments about if it's a real Hemi or anything like that. That's irrelevant. The reality is that the car was able to perform in a way that was commiserate to the image and the look and the shape of the thing, for lack of a better way of putting it. So that's where, for me, I get a lot of, had a lot of pride and have a lot of pride. If you've got a 392, it actually has a lot of history going for it. In some cases early on was overshadowed by the Hellcat, but I think now it's starting to get a lot of the credit that it truly does deserve. And that is that it is a mass-produced 500 horsepower hot rod, which I think is awesome. Oh, Brandon's saying I prefer bikes for fun. I have a Husky 701. Very cool. You would think it's weird. It's actually stranger for me to not have a bike than to have a bike. And I just haven't had it. I just haven't had it in me to get one. I used to love doing track days, but I don't know. Who has the time, right? CFL's hanging out with Rift on those on the issue with the fender wells. Sovereign saying NA means less things to worry about braking. I sorta. If everything's built right, and I mean it'll last indefinitely. I mean, to say that would mean that a Peterbilt wouldn't be reliable. It's got a turbocharged inline six. So if you build it, it'll be very reliable. As a matter of fact, some of the most robust combinations that I have seen have been very mildly or just simply tuned Hellcats. A lot of these guys down here drive them daily. Lots of Chargers with well over 100,000 miles on them, and these guys beat on these cars on the street. The cars have never seen the drag strip, but not that it would really matter. These guys just run them on the street and never really seem to have any issues with them. Dr. Div saying, B Mason, my man, what's up, Doc? Brandon saying Alfa Romeo Brera. Slash is saying hello. Rip saying, did not think about the bead locks pulling the tire out. Rip saying, 5'7", baby, got the arm flex. I like it. It's checking in with Sovereign Knight. Slick392 saying, for the right 5'7" car, I think that's a better deal. Thanks, Brian. You're welcome. And yeah, talking about the supercharged stuff, you know, it's going to be more and more important if all of this EPA crackdown starts to make any waves. I mean, again, that E-Force kit with Edelbrock's tune is 50 state legal. And of course, you can always approve upon that. But, you know, the reality is that, you know, that might start to be a viable direction to go. And again, if you've got a 5.7, cost of entry is a lot less. Let's say you've already got one that's paid off and you want to start to hot rod it. Supercharger is kind of a nice place to start. Sovereign Knight saying, not much, just chilling for the rest of the evening. Very cool. Marco saying, 5.7 Hemi, best V8, just need to make the truck and cars lighter. You know, I don't know if I would want to see them make the cars or trucks lighter or just put 6.4s in everything. Doctor saying, although I haven't been a fan of the E-Force, I've yet to try one. I've done several Whipples and haven't been really impressed with any of them. Stock bottom end may be the problem though. So one of the problems that a lot of folks have with supercharging these things is that, I mean, nowadays the compressors are just so good. I mean, it doesn't take much. It's just a slight breathing on with some of these compressors just to make insane boost numbers. So I can see where, you know, whether it's a Whipple or anything else, it's hard to, well, for one, I mean, it's easy, I should say, to get to the limits of what the block can actually handle. Because, you know, back in the day, a V8, just pick a V8, a 400 small block Chevy, 350 Chevy, 351 Windsor, 360 Dodge, AMC, whatever. All of them made somewhere around 250 horsepower, realistically. Like if you were to look at each one of those engines for what they're worth, most of them made around 250 horsepower. Yeah, some of the higher performance ones might make 300, but that wasn't the norm. And even at 300 horsepower, there's nothing being taxed in that block whatsoever. The RPM isn't high enough. The thing will get into valve float before it over revs. There's just so many things. I mean, as long as it's got oil in it, water in it, and everything's fairly fresh and kept that way, you can run the thing at practically wide open throttle for decades and never wear the thing out. But as cylinder head technology got better, and of course fuel injection and and any type of fuel induction, it doesn't matter what it is, got consistently better, the power started going up and up and up. And so it started to test metallurgy of bearing surfaces or just the block itself, pistons, rods, valves, springs. All these things start to, well, fatigue much more quickly because they're under a lot more stress. And because they're under a lot more stress, when you throw a blower on top of them, then things can potentially get really sideways really quickly, which is something that we have found on occasion with some of these engines. So I think as long as you're conservative, you know, 6-8 pounds at the most, and really 7 would be the cap for me with 93 octane. Because you got to remember, you're dealing with engines that are 10.5, 11 to 1, basically, compression ratios. Keep the boost low, and you'll be in good shape. Fuel quality notwithstanding, they'll make about 100 more horsepower, no matter which one you run. Sovereign Knight's a big fan of Kid Rock, saying, hit that like button. Hit the like button, y'all. Jimmy's saying, oh, hanging out with CFL 1320. Let's see. Doc Div saying, yeah, running out of injector is common on a 392 on a cammed car. I've seen 102% duty cycle before on the Race Armada car. We went to a set of 750s and it is at 42% now. Very good. Yeah, that car's got a lot of cam, and for it to be hanging out at that kind of duty cycle means that it is moving a lot of air up there in the upper RPM range. Superior Fit saying Firehawk Indies are awesome. Very nice. Dr. Div saying, B, you ever get the new tires? Yeah, right there. I've already run them. They did fantastic. And, you know, I would say that you're going to be in pretty good shape if you were to get some of those, but they won't be open or, you know, sending anything anytime real soon. Because now next is going to be compound testing. Rick is asking, at what power level do you think cradle lockouts would be a good idea in my Cat? Over 800 horse now. Man, I don't even know, because we got cars running around that have absolute bone stock rear suspensions running mid nines. So you know, I don't know that you absolutely need anything. I know that a lot of guys will move to a all polyurethane cradle mount bushing system. It's not a bad idea. I just don't know that it's 100% necessary. I mean, if you're dropping the cradle anyway, you might want to be replacing bushings while you're at it, but, you know, maybe put a set of, you know, like Bmr lower trailing arms on it or something like that while you're at it. But everything else, I mean, it's holding up. I mean, we've run, honestly, we've run 8s on all stock stuff and not had an issue. So, but all the mid 9-second stuff is, yeah, it's all factory. Callus is asking, is the 10-inch wheel the best match for the 305 rear drag radial on a narrow body Challenger? Yeah, the 10 is really the way to go. You can see the wheels behind me. When you have a 9.5 and you're running a 305, the problem is that the force, the weight, when it is distributed to the ground, the way that the ground actually sees the weight, believe it or not, it's actually kind of funny. It's directly in line with the bead of the wheel, not the outside of the wheel, but the bead of the wheel. That's where the tire is physically touching and mounted to the tire, and that's where it's putting all of its pressure down. So that's why air pressure is so critical. That's why the footprint is so critical. If you have too wide of a tire on too narrow of a rim, what happens is that it is very easy to have that tire cup. You try to air them down at the track, you cup them and you have a really funky looking pattern. You'll have a pattern on both sides, but you'll have 2 black strips on the outside when it loses traction. So the idea is that you want to pattern test whatever combination that you're running to see what the most, what the best footprint is really going to look like, which basically means just going out and, hammering the throttle and then going back and seeing what the pattern looks like. But to have the best and the most efficient use of the tread that you're buying, the width of the tread that you're buying, yeah, a 10-inch wheel would be the best. 10 and a halves, either way, they're going to be able to put that power to the ground. A 10, you'll have on somebody's out there playing around with the single. You'll have just maybe a quarter of an inch of a chicken strip on either side of that tire, but it's very, very slight. On a 9.5-inch rim, you might have, close to a half an inch. And if you're running 305s on a 9.5-inch wide rim, that's a 20, that problem is going to be exacerbated. And the reason why is the smaller or the shorter that the aspect ratio is, the sidewall, the shorter that sidewall, the more it's going to stick out from the rim to get to the actual treaded surface. If it's, you've got a smaller rim and more of an aspect ratio, a taller sidewall tire, it's more of a gradual angle to that actual tread. So you can get away with it in that respect. But if you've got, a 35 series tire that you're going 305, 35 on a 20, you're going to have chicken strips on either side of that tire that are going to be about that wide. And again, it's just added weight to your rotating your rim, your rotating assembly back there that you don't need. And it's literally not doing anything for you for traction. There's hardly any load on the outside portion of that. So keep that in mind when you're buying tires. Marco's asking, why didn't they build a 5.7 Dakota with the 8-speed? That would have been sweet. I don't know, but I'd have been all about that. Oh, Sovereign saying you just got new tires. Loves the way it handles. Very nice. I like it. Gary is asking, can I run in the 11s with my 2020 Scat Pack Challenger manual? What would I need to mod? Thanks. That is an answer that Sean E. can give you. I can tell you that it takes a lot, man. A drag pack, Barton shifter tune. If you're really deep chasing a number, a cleaned up intake with 85 millimeter throttle body. These are the things that you're going to need to get every ounce of power out of that thing. You know, your drag pack, wheel and tire setup. You probably would be good to run that thing on bias plies, but you can get away with ET Street R's. There's a lot that you're definitely going to have to do to get the most out of that combination. It's going to be tough, but you can definitely get there. Oh, clutch line restrictor mod. That'll have to be part of what you do. And then practice. Lots of weight reduction too. Sovereign saying B Mason needs to get his hands on a Pantera. So here's the funny thing. I went Pantera hunting about 10 years ago, and I was dead set on picking up a Pantera, and I found it was funny. It was kind of like hunting for fox bodies now. If you found a really nice one, they wanted an arm and a leg for it. If you found one that needed some work, it was a basket case. It was never something that was just like, man, this is my driver. I've had it since new. It's just not my thing anymore. I'm more into old pickup trucks. I'm just looking to get rid of this thing. I know what I've got. I don't want to get ripped off on it, but you know, you seem like a nice bald guy. I'll hook you up. That never did happen. There was a blue one that I nearly bought. There was a red one that I was just about to put ink on paper on. And those after viewing the car, this thing, the red one, which was the least expensive of the group, it looked great from, you know, I don't know, here to the street, but that car had more freaking issues than National Geographic. And it was one of those things where I just knew I was going to end up regretting it. So, ended up letting that one go. But yeah, I actually, it's funny you mentioned that because I had at one point was really worked up about getting one and just didn't happen. Oh, Jimmy, thank you again, buddy. I appreciate it. Smoking05 saying, I'm running AZ850s now, decent tire. They don't seem to have the best dry traction. No, they don't. I'm curious about the new Mickey Thompson Sport Comp. I think it is. Yeah, it's the Sport Comp is actually, from all accounts, a pretty decent tire. So I haven't ever run any before. And of course, the Aturos their claim to fame is just that they're cheap. You can go out and, you know, put a set on the back of your car, boil them, and it's not really a big hit to your pocketbook when you need to get a new set of tires. I know a lot of the guys that like to hit the on-ramps and off-ramps, you know, try to drift through the on-ramp and off-ramp. A lot of those guys get the Aturos. Weird thing about the Aturo, dry traction, straight line traction isn't necessarily the best, but they do not suck for lateral acceleration. They will grip in a corner, which makes, if you've got a car that you can step it out, it actually makes the step out of the car very predictable. It's actually real progressive. At least it was in Shalandra with those tires. So there were some instances where, and I don't know, I may have taken the video down because of reasons, with me playing around with the Aturos in a business park. And there were some turns, you know, just some areas where I'm making a turn and I am flat footing that car and it's gripping just fine. But straight line acceleration, it spoiled the tires through third gear. So there's that. Let's see. Oh, Rift is saying, I just cut my fender well when I did it, and you're right. There was a lot less to be done on the driver's side, but you really have to hit it hard. Yeah, they are. Your ears are still ringing. Yep. Grace asking, what do I think about the N54 Bmws? If that's the latest one, they're pretty sick. They're fast, but I don't know. They're just really not my cup of tea. I'm not really familiar with all the different designations, though, of BMWs. Let's see. Sovereign saying, have a good night, Doc. Cool deal. Guess he's checking out. Oh, yeah, saying here he is. Appreciate that again, buddy. Saying, enjoyed the show for a bit, getting out for the night. Glad I caught the show. Y'all be safe. Be cool, man. Derek saying, if the EPA is successful, won't this essentially put all tuners out of business, most parts companies as well? That's pretty much what every tuner is saying. It's not true at all. First of all, parts manufacturers, in what respect? I mean, you can always get a set of catalytic converters certified, I guess you could call it, by the EPA. There's always that option. Now, I will say this. There's a super, like the E4 supercharger is 50 state compliant with that tune. You're always going to have shops that'll be working on, hot rod parts, but they'll just be, if at the worst case scenario, EPA certified. The thing is that I don't think it's going to get to that level. I think that I think the EPA is doing, they're playing hardball to force a compromise. And that's a pretty common, can be, I should say, a fairly common tactic when a governing body thinks that too many liberties are being taken with whatever rules are in place. Okay, so in this case, EPA can be looking at the landscape in general and basically have it in their head that, personal property rights aside, this is not in the spirit of the laws that we have written, so we are going to reinterpret the laws in this manner. What say you? And then everybody's got to scramble to come up with either a compromise or some type of a workaround or whatever. But the main thing is just to come to a compromise and come to agreement and then move forward and really not have to mess with this again. And also too, you got to remember this is nothing new, and it's not only nothing new, but there was at one point the ruling, however you want it, statute. I don't really even know what the right way to put it is, but it basically broke down like this. If let's say you were building a 32 Ford, this is like 20 something years ago too. This isn't just like yesterday. This is actually a while back. If you were building like a 32 Ford hot rod and you wanted to put an old school LT1 350 in that thing, if that LT1, like from a 96 Corvette, if that LT1, actually I should say 94 Corvette, if that LT1 was originally equipped with catalytic converters, you would have to run catalytic converters on your 32 Ford because that engine was designed with catalytic converters. That was a real thing. And so that ended up getting shot down. But you have to remember that that's just one of the more obscure rules that has already been fought and defeated. So it's not like this is the first time that these types of rulings or these types of laws or these types of motions have been defeated. But I will tell you that, if the industry takes too many liberties, the EPA will crack down on them. And it's just going to be kind of in concert with, the level that they think that they're being infringed upon. OC, thank you very much, man. I appreciate that very much. Saying loving the Mopar chat, 2 thumbs up. Thank you for the contribution, my man. No question, just saying loving the Mopar chat. Well, man, I truly do appreciate that. Thank you very much for that. But yeah, thank you very much, brother. Oh, Shift is saying, am I into Formula One racing October 24th in Austin, USA Grand Prix? I was at the first Formula One race at COTA. Yeah, I mean, I kind of like it. I mean, I'm more into, you know, the people watching and everything else at those events, just because it's kind of hard. I mean, Formula One's not a very friendly, like in-person type of a sport to watch, mainly because, well, I mean, the cars are like, you know, a quarter of a mile over here, and then they're a half a mile over there, and an eighth of a mile over here. You know, at least you can hear them. But yeah, it's I do like going to those shows, and although I won't be able to make that one, that would be a lot of fun to see. Again, because I had a lot of fun with that. Oh, Mike's saying, just ordered a catch can for my 5.7. Looking forward to cleaning up my car's act. Literally wondering if I waited too long at 30,000 miles and if I should open up my intake manifold and check it out. Don't worry about it. So a couple of things when you're talking about catch cans with any of these platforms, the most important thing about a catch can when you put it on your car is to empty the thing. You would be surprised as to how often this would happen, where we would have a car go on the dyno. I would pull the reservoir off of the catch can, and it would be full. There's a problem with that, because if that thing is full, you are siphoning the oil out of the reservoir into your intake manifold. It's actually way worse than never having a catch can before. So just know that coming into it. You have to change that thing out at least once a month. And you may only get, and I've got videos on this too, if you need to, I think it's under how-tos, but one of these Pepsi lids, that's about as much as I would ever get out of my catch can whenever I drained it. But, you know, I drain it about every, I don't know, every couple of weeks, every 3 to 4 weeks. Now, here's the thing. Catch cans don't catch everything. And if you were to ask me to give you a percentage of all of the vapor that they don't collect, I would say that they don't collect about 70%. Now, I know that's going to sound like a lot. You're going to go, what, balderdash, I can't believe. Look, I'm the guy that ports the manifolds. And whenever Dr. Dev sends me a manifold, the guy could have had a catch can on the car for forever. And the intake manifolds, the insides of them kind of basically look about the same. There are some exceptions to that, but not too many. So I guess what I'm telling you is, I'm not saying that it's a waste. It's not. But a few things. Don't think that you're going to be saving your engine or your intake or your performance or anything else like that, because you got to think, this little cap here, however much that is, I mean, it's, you know, it fits in the palm of your hand. In 3,000 miles, give or take, to get roughly this much oil out of it, and at most, let's say what went through your engine was maybe 2 more of these, right? 3 more of these little capfuls of oil. How many gallons of gasoline would you have gone through? I mean, you know, think of it like that. Unless you've got a serious, just like a serious issue with your rings where you've got just all kinds of, like, or valve seals, I should say. And you're just dumping oil on top of the pistons all the time, your amount of oil that's getting mixed in with your gasoline is extremely diluted. Whatever that amount is, 3, 5, 10 of these, it wouldn't matter. It would just be very much diluted by the amount of gasoline that it would take to put that many miles on your vehicle. Now, that being said, yeah, some intakes are better than others. And I've seen some that were pretty bad. If you've got a truck, I highly recommend a catch can. Obviously 5.7s for sure. The 6.4s, and I don't run one at all on the Hellcat. and with no ill effects. So, again, just my 2 cents. I do think that they're worth it, but the main thing, man, is you've got to be on point about draining that catch can. And again, OC, thank you so much, man. I do truly appreciate that contribution, man. Very generous of you. Thanks, guys. Mark the Mark saying, hey, Professor Mason. Hey, Mark. Mark saying, just bought a pair of Flowmaster Outlaws for my RT. Nice. Can't wait for the neighbors to be annoyed. They will be. Congratulations. They do sound good. Mike saying, what is the smallest steel wheel that can fit on a Challenger? 18-inch? Ooh, well, it's going to depend on the barrel shape. This last winter got dicey, so I want some dedicated snows for next time. Okay, so sort of. On a regular Challenger, yeah, you can get away with 18s. If you've got a Hellcat or an SRT, you're not going to be able to get away with that. But yeah, some 18-inch steelies could definitely be in your future if you're looking for a set of snow rims or something like that. Sovereign Knight at OC saying, hell yeah, very cool. Thank you again, man. Let's see. Derek saying, I've got a built LS60 Swap Colorado. Very nice. There are no turbo kits available now. Trying to get the truck into the low 9s, high 8s. Would you recommend an F1 Pro Charger or Whipple F1 Pro Charger for your setup? It's a Holley EFI. The reason why I would recommend the F1, you're going to be stripping that thing down, going to be lightweight anyway, and you're looking for top-end drive with a 6.0. The bottom-end push when you're light like that isn't going to do you a whole lot of favors. It can actually upset the suspension on that thing. An F1 would definitely put you where you would need to be. Just get the biggest intercooler you can fit on the front of that thing. Peter's saying, I don't know what's a good radial for my Scat pack. It depends on what you're looking to do with your car. So if you're looking to go to the drag strip, then the Tri-5 G2 is good. A little busy looking, but still a good radial. If that's what you mean by the radial tires, talking about drag radials. I like the the R2. I keep wanting to call them G2. It's basically what it is. It's a drag radial version of the G2. I like that tire a lot. I think that, again, it's a little bit busy, but the wet weather performance is top notch for a drag radial. I mean, it's like regular tire good. So I would, unfortunately, no, it's a good tire. I would go with the Tri-5 R2. If you want something that is also going to handle really well, you're not really going to be like a 888 or something like that would be a good tire. But for just overall, just having it on the back of the car, R2 will get you where you need to be. Plus, again, it's a safer tire because you can run them in the wet. And if you haven't seen it, there is a video of me running that tire in the wet, in the left-hand lane, passing people. And they did just fine. Let's see. Callus is asking on a 392, what's the best size throttle body to run on a Hellcat airbox? If you have, I'll put it like this. If you have a ported manifold and that manifold is truly opened up to 85 millimeters, as far into that thing as you can get it to be opened up, because they do taper down and do some other funky things that you can get into the limits of the thickness of the polymer that the thing's made out of. I know because I have done that. You know, for me, I would say 85 millimeter would be the most I would run. Fastman 84 millimeter, Dr. Differential 85 millimeter is going to put you in that sweet spot, provided that your intake has been opened up for it. If it hasn't, then just stick with the stock 80 millimeter throttle body. There's no sense in trying to put a bigger throttle body on the thing, because now you're going to potentially run into a problem where the hole of the throttle body is bigger than the hole of the intake manifold, and that could potentially maybe cause some flow issues. But the other thing is that it's not going to be when you put the throttle body onto the intake manifold, there is some adjustability in there. And you have to know that coming into it. It's why when you put one of those throttle bodies on, please make sure that you center it. You just kind of get the bolts barely snug, and then open it, kind of reach in there like you're, grabbing a bass a little bit, or a catfish rather, and you're just going to feel and make sure that the opening is the same, symmetrical all the way around. Some guys will just take it, stick it on there, zip it in, and you'll have like a discrepancy of about that much in some cases. On the bottom of it, because the thing will just sit down, and so you can imagine it just goes like that. And so just make sure you center the throttle body. It's the main thing. Hilton's asking, any thoughts on the Green Cats by Cooks? They're good. They work well. Robert's saying hi. Hello, Robert. Oh, Gary's checked in. Thank you very much. I didn't see that pop up. Saying, thank you for the feedback. Definitely need a Barton short throw shifter. Definitely do. Makes all the difference in the world. Changes the complexion of that car completely. You will thank us for that. Slick 392's checking out. Say, I'm checking out. Take care, everybody. See you, Slick. Have a good one, buddy. Let's see. Oh, KC, very nice. Saying, what up, Mason? I took your advice on the Joker cam kit, headers, and throttle body from Dr. Differential. Can't wait. Jesse down there has been a big help with me getting my parts. Very cool. You're going to love it. Dr. Diff should be doing your remote tune, and it will run very, very well. I think you're going to love the way it sounds, too. Because that cam sounds amazing. HU's asking, isn't it whether you should use a catch can dependent on the type of fuel injection? I would think a catch can provides more benefit for a car with direct port injection. Oh, as opposed to just regular port and or rail injection. Your thoughts? Not necessarily. The catch can is independent from the type of fuel induction that you're using, whether it's carbureted, fuel injected throttle body, fuel injected rail. It doesn't really matter. If it has a PCV system, that pollution control valve system, then it will be eligible for a catch can. Some will say that a catch can is actually better for a vehicle that has a carburetor on it. And the reason for that is that a carburetor doesn't quite have near the ability to adjust its fuel to air ratio. I mean, it is kind of what it is, right? So when those engines are cold, maybe you're running the thing on the choke, you can kind of wash out the cylinders. And the idea with fuel, and the idea, it doesn't, I say that like it's a thing that just happens. It doesn't, okay? But the idea is that sometimes carburetors have a tendency to run more rich. That can potentially, depending on how rich it is and how poorly the carburetor is tuned, wash out cylinders and do some things that are just in general not all that great. So a catch can may help in getting some of those volatile chemicals, caught, I guess, because they're a lot easier to distill out of the oil. But again, you have to have the oil at temperature. Some guys will argue that point. I'm just more along the lines of, if you want to run a catch can, run a catch can. If you don't, you don't need to. They do work, but and this is something else too that I always wanted to do, and I didn't get a chance to do it when I was working for Pikes, and it kind of bummed me out. I wanted to daisy chain 5 catch cans on a Hemi, any of the 5.7 trucks, and I was going to use my truck as the guinea pig. And literally have, because the one of the tricks too is to have the so you use a GM style PCV, but you gut it, and it's a smaller orifice. GMs for the LS platforms had a bad habit with oil consumption, and it was basically because there's so much volume running through the thing that they were pulling a lot of volume of oil through the intake manifolds. One of the reasons why the intakes of those things are pretty bad. Well, the Hemi had the same problem. So what I did, and it's on the video where I do show the part number for that that GM PCV, and I just kind of run it in line. And anyway, I was going to remove that, put it all back to stock, and then daisy chain catch cans and see at what point are you just not, at what point did the catch can catch everything? You know, like, you know, you see these videos where guys will, you know, they'll shoot it, you know, I don't know, water jugs. And how many water jugs does it take to catch the projectile? Well, it's kind of like that. You know, how many catch cans would you need to stop catching anything? And I think that would open up a lot of eyes also. I may do that at some point just as an R&D exercise because I love doing that kind of stuff, but I would have to figure out a way to mount it on the work truck. Anyway, I'll work on that. Let's see. Alex is saying, hey, B, you talked a while ago about what changes you would make to the 6.4's intake manifold. Ever thought about making a CAD design for it and marketing it to the bigger companies? The problem with that is that nobody wants to get on board with Hemi stuff. And the reason why they don't is because every time I think somebody has designed, because it would be very easy for somebody like FAST to build an intake for that thing. I mean, it would be more or less cut and paste. You know, you take basically you just make a fast manifold fit on a Hemi. You know, you stretch out a little bit here. You know, anybody that's ever designed anything in CAD or, you know, just in general would know exactly what I'm talking about, where you would literally stretch the runners, elongate everything, the base. It'd be easy. I mean, I'm looking at it in my head right now. I'm thinking that they would have done this already. The problem is when guys start taking these things to the drag strip, and there's the big issue of the fact that these cars are heavy, and designing an intake manifold that works with a very heavy vehicle to get them to move is tough. And they've got the stock manifold is a variable runner manifold, which even adds to the complexity of it. So yeah, I've thought about, you know, how could I, you know, the changes that I would make to the manifold, what would I change? And the changes are basically just shorten the runner by, if possible, you wouldn't have to shorten the runner, just make the runner slightly larger in general. And change the position of the short runner valve. If it would even make a difference, to be honest with you, because the stock intake is actually really good, but it's really good in terms of making power to about 6,200 RPM with the cam that's in it. See, the thing is you got to remember that manifold gets really good when you put an aftermarket camshaft in that car. The data on those intake manifolds looks really nice. It starts to look like data that you would see out of a fast manifold anyway. So it's just the stock cam is what hurts it. The reason why it hurts it is because the cam has a lobe separation angle about 121 degrees. And to put that into perspective, just a walking around run-of-the-mill performance camshaft that you would consider, you know, a camshaft you would consider to be a real performance camshaft, it's going to have a intake center line of anywhere between 114 and 110 degrees. So you've got all this extra area, and basically what it means is you're cracking the exhaust valve a lot earlier, which is great for building power up top, but you're also closing it really early, which doesn't do you much good. But here's the thing, when the intake valve opens, that runner, because there's hardly any overlap realistically to speak of, is incredibly active in terms of velocity, and just the thing is about this long too. But in terms of just outright velocity, which is what the heads need to make power, that's what that runner is doing. Well, when you have tighter lobe separation angle, the intake runner becomes less active. When it becomes less active, what that basically means is you're just not taxing the runner as much. So your KPA actually goes up. In other words, there's not near as much vacuum in the intake manifold at wide open throttle, so that assembly is being allowed to be more efficient just by the use of the cam itself. That's why I'm such a big fan of that manifold when you put a different cam in that thing, because now all of a sudden you go from a manifold that is probably hurting performance a little bit with that stock manifold or stock cam in, combined with that manifold, because it's doing exactly what it was designed to do. Now it's working with an aftermarket camshaft, making life a little bit easier on those intake runners. KPA goes up, car gets really happy and goes really, really fast. Racer X checking in. Thank you very much, brother. Saying B-Mason's knowledge is on a different level. He is so smart. He doesn't do push-ups. He does earth downs. That's awesome. Oh man, I wish that were the case. I wish that were the case, man. In fact, I went to the gym tonight and I was definitely not doing earth downs. I was doing earth ups and they hurt a lot. But thank you, brother. I appreciate that, man. Thank you very much. He does earth downs. It's Mopar, baby. CFL James saying, white knuckle with demonic red front seats. Very nice. Only 309 gear and satin black hood. Narrow body red eye. I'm going to have to trade in the 1320 and hoping you'll talk me out of it. Sovereign Knight saying, keeping the game going. So let me tell you something, man. CFL, I got to tell you, man. The struggle is real, man. If you're in a position and you are really looking at that red eye, I can understand the allure of it. And nothing 60 foot's like a red eye. Nothing stock anyway, other than the Demon. So there's that. But just remember that when you go that route, you're leaving a lot of what makes playing around on the street so much fun. Now, I'm not talking you out of it. Don't take this the wrong way. I mean, I'd never talk you out of spending your hard-earned money on a hot rod. But the trade-off from going from a 1320 to a red eye is that you lose the ability to use all that horsepower that you bought. I mean, you'd almost be better. Here's the cool thing about the red eye. All right. This is going to sound stupid, but Racer X will get this. And anybody else out there with a Hellcat will understand. If you want to have a lot of fun with your car and you are in a position where you know for a fact that you've built something that has, there's no real strong, there's no strong pull for you to do anything with this car on the street other than just, driving it around because it'll just light the tires up. Like Racer X's car likes to do rolling burnouts at 120 miles an hour. Ask me how I know. Still ruined my fuel economy. Anyway, so the thing is that you lose that ability to play with the car, but you can always put it in 500 horse mode. And really, when you think about it, that car in 500 horse mode is going to act a lot like, it's what I try to explain to folks. If you ever want to know what a good running street-centric, street-focused 426 drives like, or how you would want one to drive like, get into a Hellcat and put it into 500 horse mode and drive it around. They're real torquey. Now it's a 6.2 on at about 5 pounds of boost. They're torquey. They don't really rev out that awesome up top because they're boost limited, but they are real snappy down low in 500 horse mode, all things considered. So you kind of get two cars in one when you buy a Hellcat. A lot of people forget that. They're so used to, that red key life, man. They forget that there's another side to it that you can have a lot of fun with. And then either way you go, you can always put it in valet mode and scare the hell out of yourself when you're trying to enter traffic. So, there's just all kinds of, just fun and excitement you can have for yourself with one of these things. Little adventures you can go on. But yeah, I understand completely. And look, it's kind of a progression when guys get into the 392 stuff and they start wanting the Hellcats. I get it, but I have had some of the most fun, just honest to goodness, dumb, goofy, silly fun in not only 6.4 cars, but 5.7 stuff, my trucks. So, you know, don't sell the 392 short just because there's more out there. Doesn't always mean that more is better. But thank you very much. I appreciate the contribution to the cause. Oh, HE37 saying I use Cook's Green Cats on my car and I like them. It's more of a mixed bag when burning E85. No E85 where I live, so that isn't a problem. Gotcha. Arthur saying, Brother B, got the ball guy with the flex. I like it. They appreciate you. Appreciate you too, man. James Wade saying, where do I get a ported intake? That question can be answered by Dr. Differential in Groves, Texas. If you go through him, you'll get one of my intakes. Well, it'll be your intake that we port unless you buy a new one and have me port the new one. So, but I would be the one that actually cuts on that. And I use for my cutting, you can see kind of the stuff that I use over here, but I use one of his throttle bodies. It is this one right there. So this is the original prototype for the billet aluminum 85 millimeter throttle body. And what I do is I use this basically as a template and then snap gauges and breathers and all that other kind of good stuff to actually cut the throat of that manifold. So anyway, kind of a look behind the scenes on how I do one of those manifolds. Basically, I just make a match that guy right there. Summer Night saying, show some love and hit that like button, everybody. Absolutely. Hit the like button, please. Hit the like button. Hit the bell notification. It means a lot. YouTube logarithms, anagrams, algorithms, and all other big, long, scary sounding words rely on that. So yeah, for sure. Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate it. Saw somebody hit it up there. Thank you very much. Shift Nation's asking, what is the best alignment offset for drag racing? Can OEM stuff achieve the goal, or do I need adjustable aftermarket parts? Thanks. Dude, I'm running stock stuff. I know that there are folks out there that will swear by different alignment specs. You know, you got the Bmr Adjustable Camber. Caster. Bmr Adjustable Camber kit. You can do that. There's a lot of little things you can do. It helps a little bit, but I don't know that it helps on a drag strip. On the street, it can help because if you take the camber out of the rear end just a little bit, when the car squats, the wheels and tires arc up and in. That's very exaggerated, by the way, unless you are just really, it's really exaggerated, okay? But they do arc up and in. So if you notice, you know, if this is your contact patch as a flat, you know, if the bottom of this thing is flat, I would grab one of the tires, but I'm actually not supposed to have my camera. When they come in, you lose some of that contact patch on the outside. It just kind of comes up. For most guys at most of the power levels that we're talking about 1,000 horsepower-ish cars. On a drag strip, you wouldn't need any adjustments for that. Just stock stuff is just fine. The Demon doesn't have different parts, and it runs mid-9s, high 9s, low 10s, depending on a lot of stuff. But it uses the same stock stuff that a Scat pack does or anything else has back there, and it does just fine. So the thing is, I don't want you to spend your money on something like that. If you start getting into the I don't know, the 8-second zone with your car, you might start looking at that mainly for safety and making sure that you have a very flat footprint. And in that case, you're going to have camber basically be set to 0. Maybe half a degree in, as opposed to the factory, I think it's 1 or 1.5 degrees. Actually, quite a bit of negative camber, especially in the front. But you're just going to bring that out to basically 0. It might look a little bit wonky at first, but you'll get used to it. And when it launches, you'll get just that deflection. You'll maintain more of your footprint. But again, I mean, you got cars like Racer X, you've got, Demons, everyone that's out there. You've got a lot of guys that are going really fast, low 9s, mid 9s with just a bunch of stock parts with no adjustable anything. It's just a stock, non-adjustable stuff. So, bro, please don't go throwing your money at that, something like that. Again, now, if all you're doing is hitting this thing on the street, okay, the street's a little bit different story because it's a non-prep surface and you need all the help you can get. If most of your playing around is done on the street, then at about the 950 range, it might do you some good to put the adjustable camber arms on the car. And again, bring them out just a little bit, but I got news for you, man. I just never really messed with it and never missed them. So there's that. Hellcat saying, what do you think about putting OEM Demon wheels on the back of my Charger Hellcat? Someone is offering to sell them for $1,500. I don't know that they'll fit right. I think they'll stick out about that far. And even though it's a Charger, it's a Charger Hellcat, you'll have a little bit more room than a Challenger, but I just think they're going to stick out too far. I don't know if you're going to like that. I mean, see if you can test fit them and they work. If you like it, go for it. It just wouldn't be my first choice. Besides, you got to remember, independent rear car, and they're going to come up and in when you launch. So we're saying Demon wheels are cool. Yeah, they are kind of cool on a wide body. Racer X saying, oh, hey, what's up, man? Thank you very much for that contribution. Catalyst is asking a good question. Are lightweight bumper supports worth bothering with? I have been sort of on the fence about it. Cheers. Me and you both. Here's a problem. If there is a problem. I think the most weight that you're going to save out of doing the front and the rear bumper supports is 40 pounds. 40 pounds. It sounds like a lot, and I agree, it's a lot of weight, but would it really help anything? If you are absolutely positively gunning for a number, like you are out to fetch a number, they may help you get there. The problem is when you have weight differences. I'll give you a perfect example of this, which is Chris's car. His car weighs, I think, 100 or 150 pounds more than my car does, and it's off of my car's pace by about 1/10 to at most 1/10.5, but we'll just say 1/10 just for the sake of argument, because that's exactly by how much it was off last time. And I tuned his car, and it's a good, solid, safe street tune, but it is significantly heavier than my car, but it's only off by 1/10. And they're about the same mile an hour. So if you're on the street, you're playing around with the thing on the street, and you don't ever take it to the drag strip, you have no business putting the lightweight bumper supports on the car, because unless you're running with the passenger seat out and you're running full drag pack mode and you've got everything out of the car that you can for lightweight and everything else in your race car and your street car, you're never even going to notice that those things have been removed. You got to remember that you're talking about less than 1% of the weight of the car. 40 pounds on a 4,000 pound car. See what I'm getting at? Like, it sounds like a lot, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not. Now, that being said, look, weight is absolutely weight, and I get that. And it will make a difference in ET. You will run quicker with those parts in the car. But for the cost, is it worth it? Because keep in mind, you're never going to feel the difference in that kind of weight. And and I know this because I've run my car at crazy full weight. I've run it at hardly any weight in the thing, and the car felt the same to me. Always felt strong. Is it worth the amount of money that you're going to spend? And again, if you're not in contention for a record, or you've got a personal best that you just have to cover because you are trying to beat a car that you used to have, or that your buddy's got, or something along those lines, you're trying to come after my 1012 stock boost car, then yeah, I mean, they'll certainly help you. I do not have those on my car. I have been trying to figure out if it would be worth it. And at this stage of the game, probably not. Now, once the car is paid off, maybe that becomes something that I look into doing, but I'm just not in love with the idea just yet to start disassembling the thing and spend hundreds of dollars on a modification that I might see half of a tenth on. And you got to remember, a half of a tenth isn't that much. I know that it looks like it's better on a time slip, and it's on its way to being a tenth quicker at that point. I get that. I completely understand it, but it's not so far and away worth it that you just go, oh yeah, you got to put the bumper supports in. It's got to be part of a total weight loss protocol. We're talking no seat, lithium battery, drag pack, bumper supports, nothing in the trunk. And then from there, I mean, you got to start getting real picky about what you think is still part of your car at that point and what's not. So anyway, hopefully that helps, bud. Sovereign saying, Racer X, fuck the world. I like it. Mike G saying, what generally sounds better on a 5.7? Super 10s, Vibrants, or mini race bullets? This is considering keeping the resonators behind them. I'm torn between the three at the moment. If you're so if you're going to keep the resonators, wouldn't go Super 10 necessarily. I don't have a ton of experience with the Vibrants, but the race bullets would sound pretty good with that. So I would say go race bullets. And I would say if you're going to do something like that, go with a race bullet that's about a foot or so long. I think don't get the itty bitty one because it won't do any good. It won't be worth even putting on the car. Get one that's about like 16 or 18 like that. I think you like the way it sounds. Sovereign saying he does the same thing Chuck Norris does. That's funny. And thank you again, CFL. I appreciate it, bud. Racer X, even Chuck Norris is scared of B. Mason. I don't think Chuck Norris has anything to worry about with me, as long as he keeps his distance. I'm joking, Carlos. Sovereign, again, I appreciate that, buddy. Racer X says, Sovereign Knight and CFL coming through. Boom, I like it. Mike G's asking, are there any aftermarket manifold gaskets and bolts you'd recommend for stock in case I ever need to replace them, or just stick to OEM? Just stick to OEM. Those things are the best, and that's what is used no matter what comes with a set of Cooks or JBL headers or factory manifolds or whatever. The stock MLS gaskets, that's multi-layer steel, are very, very, very good. Sovereign I say, if you feel the need for speed, you've come to the right place. B. Mason is the man you need. Well, I am your master of faster, so thank you very much. I appreciate that. Sovereign saying, Mopar, indeed. Robert saying, hey, Racer X. Let's see. Red Eyes saying, not even Visine can get the red out. I like Red Eyes. They're fun to drive, man. Real torquey down low. Saying, hey, Master Mason, my local 8th Mile track is opening in April. It's going to be my first time driving there. Any tips on not making a fool of myself? I tell you what, I've never done a step-by-step at the drag strip. I know Racer X had put a video out. It's been a long time ago for really both of us to do a typical how-to, and I probably should do one here at some point. Yeah, something that's a little bit more in depth. But the main thing is learn how to stage the car. That's the absolute most important thing. Don't waste any time once you get up there. Don't be in a rush, but you can drive around the water box. When you're first learning, don't worry about burnouts or anything like that. Just worry about learning how to stage the car. Turn on your top bulbs, which you'll know what this is once you start learning the Christmas tree, you know, the lights that you're looking at. Setting off your top bulb, setting off your bottom bulb, and then when to launch and how to actually accelerate the car without lighting the tires up. The main thing though is practice. Play around with the car on the street, learn your car, be proficient with the car that you have, and that will make all the difference in the world. But, you know, there are some rules that you have to go by, and that's just with staging the car. But get some practice time with the car, play with it, practice launching the car, and get a feel for what the car is going to act like if it starts to get a little bit out of sorts. That will start to help build your confidence and will give you the confidence that you need to be able to know that you can launch the car a certain way. And if it reacts, it predictably will act a certain way under, you know, partial traction conditions, so to speak. Anything weird happens to the car starts to get a little bit out of sorts, the tires spin. When you launch, just roll out of the throttle and then slowly roll back into the throttle. If you feel something has gone completely wrong with the car, pull over and stop. Don't go all the way to the end of the track. And these are the most important things. Everything else will basically come in time, but the learning your car, learning the tree, and if anything weird happens, pull over immediately so that you don't, you know, spread oil all the way down the track. It's bad for the track, and it's obviously, I mean, if you're still rolling and something's wrong with your car, that's not good either. So the track officials are there to help you. Get to the track early and ask one of the track officials to walk you through the procedure, like physically walk the track. I've done that for guys. I've had, and there's nothing wrong with asking a racer to help you. Most guys would be real happy to help you on site. But if you feel more comfortable asking a track official, that's what they're there to do. They're there to help you, and you're there. If you're asking these questions, that's a smart thing to do because they want you to be successful at this. They want you to have a good time, but they also want their job to be easy, and they don't want somebody barking at them if somebody's eating up a bunch of time at the Christmas tree. So, but I've done that for guys. And just with me being at the drag strip all the time and me talking to folks, like obviously I do love the sound of my own voice, do I not? Anyway, I've had, you know, new guys, you know, or guys, actually, I've had it go both ways. I've had new guys come up and say, hey, can you walk me through this? This is my first time. I've had guys bring people over to me and say, hey, man, can you walk him through the procedure of staging the car and, you know, burnouts and everything else? Because I get there so freaking early when I do go. And I'm like, hell yeah, let me walk you through it. And it's cool because you can just see the weight come off of them. They're excited, but they want to do have a good time. They want to do a good job. So yeah, I've done that for guys. The track officials will absolutely help you walk that process through too. Let's see. Racer X is checking out. Coming by to say hi. Thank you very much. Hope you're well, my friend. Need to get you up here on the 10th. Yeah, I know it. Yeah, I'm like I say, it's going to depend on what the schedule looks like because I am booked. I'm going to be going out of town quite a bit. So definitely need to get up there though, for sure. Sovereign saying the highest horsepower I've ever driven was 300 horsepower. My daily driver has a minuscule 267 horsepower. That's not bad. Let's see. Oh, Robert's hanging out with Racer X, says wife loves the Charger. That's awesome. Sovereign say, throttle body, open up and say, absolutely. Oh, James, thank you very much, man. I appreciate that. Says thank you. Well, thank you, James. 9X is saying, how are you? Doing good, 9. Hope you're doing good too. Saying, glad to get some knowledge from your video. Thank you, buddy. Racer X is hanging out with Robert. And everybody, you got some folks saying adios to Racer X. 9X is asking, what do you think causes engine belts to squeal when changing gears? It's when they unload a little bit, when they are unloaded, and you might need either new belts or a tensioner. But if it's just a real quick chirp, that's 100% normal. Don't worry about it. Summer Night City X-Man with a plan. Mike G's thanking Racer X. Very good stuff, guys. Oh, Dave saying, talking about weight, my Scat Pack weighs 35.90 right now. Dude, is there any Scat Pack left of that Scat Pack? That's awesome. Cal's asking, would I rather have a Milner Coupe or Falfa 55 Chevy? I'm not familiar with either one, but you're saying 55 Chevy. I am saying yes to that. 9X is saying, ProCharge 6.1 Hemi during gear change, hard pulls only. Yeah, that's probably the supercharger belt squeaking. More than likely on a pro-charged application. It's just because there's extra load. I'm guessing you don't have a standalone belt for it, that it's using the regular serpentine belt type setup. It's real common. And that's probably what that is. It's just coming unloaded for just a split second. HU37 saying the tuning school does a drag racing video for beginners. It's pretty good. They did another video reading a time slip. Very cool. I like it. Casey's asking, do the 2008 to 14 Challengers already have metal substrate catalytic converters? No, they do not. They have a 400 cell ceramic catalytic converter. It flows really well. Same basic catalytic converter that the 6.4s have and that the Hellcats have. Sour 9 saying 35.90. Damn, that's light. No kidding. 9 saying, I changed all my O2 sensors in my PCM, but I'm still getting that P0430 code for catalytic converter below efficiency. What do you think is wrong? It could be that the catalytic converter has just gone bad. If you had hit like maybe it bottomed the car out or something like that, maybe broke one of the it's called biscuits that are in there. But typically on a stock car, that would be a bad cat. So, Catalyst is saying the American graffiti cars. Yeah, I'd take the 55. And Infidel saying mini cats. Don't like mini cats. The reason why is because there's an incorrect connotation that something small is less restrictive. It's actually the other way around. If you have a catalytic converter that's like as big around as a trash can, it's got all this surface area with all these holes that gas could flow through. I mean, it would be like not having anything. In fact, it would be like running open headers right there. With the pressure drop. So when you have a smaller catalytic converter, primarily, I should say, if it is just the regular biscuit type, not the metal substrate, but the ceramic biscuit type, the fewer cells that you have, the less flow that thing can accommodate. It's just basically the less holes that you have, the less it can accommodate in terms of actual flow. A metal substrate cat, that really doesn't matter, because if you've never seen a metal substrate cat, we can use this as an example. It's just basically a metal substrate that's folded and wrapped around in here. And the cells, because you call them cells because you're looking at them like from a 2D point of view, are huge. They're 4 times the size of the regular biscuit type, the ceramic biscuit. So in that respect, they're just not going to offer up any real detriment to flow or anything like that. They're good cats. Everybody's checking out, saying nice. Guys, I want to thank each and every one of you guys for hanging out with us tonight. We're coming up on over 2 hours, and I got to get up early in the morning. But with that, Love each and every one of y'all. Thank you for hanging out with me tonight. Get your shots. If you're going to send it, don't bend it. Keep your shiny side up. Everybody, keep the positive vibes coming. And y'all have a great rest of your week. We will catch up with you. May do a track chat live if I can at the drag strip. That will be a lot of fun. Wasn't able to do it last time, and we will try to do it on this next run. So we're out. Adios.